Good afternoon and welcome to the Joy Show. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell, your host, and I am delighted to spend this time with you. I'd like to begin with the land acknowledgement. I'm honored to work, live, and play within the City of Toronto on the historical and traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe and Wendat peoples, and more recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Haudenosaunee nations. As we gather from many places on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We acknowledge the Indigenous stewards of this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous people that they have made both in shaping and strengthening our community and our country. By making this acknowledgement, we strive to be allies and to take an active part in reconciliation by honoring the land, the history, and the unique Indigenous heritage of our First People. And this fosters our commitment to the recommendations set forth by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech. Thank you. Well, today is a very special day. I am doing the show on my own today, no guest today, and the conversation is about the name of the show, The Joy Show. Joy for me is an acronym that means just one you. And that's a really important thing for us to understand, that we are created unique and special, that each one of us comes into this life experience fully formed. And unfortunately, we sometimes get messages that suggest to us that something about us is not right, it's somehow broken, flawed, that somehow we're not good enough. So we want to shift that and change that energy completely to a full realization that because we're created in the image and of the likeness of God, that we in fact are perfect, whole, and complete. In fact, yesterday I was at a meeting at the school with my daughter who is 17, and she proceeded to tell the teachers that she was raised knowing that she is perfect, whole, and complete. So I really like that, because a lot of teenagers these days do not feel that way about themselves. So I'm grateful that she does, and I'm grateful that the kids she knows, the people she hangs with, also get that message from me on a regular. The journey that we're on this spiritual path is really about finding our voice, finding our ability to stand up rather than fit in, or stand out instead of fitting in. The idea of fitting in is such a limiting idea. You know, people told us that we should do this or we should do that, or maybe we shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. And we bought into a lot of that, didn't we? And of course, buying into it, we have reframed our experience so that we are living somebody else's strategies, plans, whatever. And that's what we want to change. In order to live a truly joyful life, to feel successful, productive, to experience satisfaction and a sense of connection with people, it's really important that we live authentically. And I believe that there's a real transformation that occurs once we move into that authentic life of ours. So imagine for a moment that what you know about you, the things that you've been told were good or bad, that all of that is what makes you who you are. And honoring that is your key to freedom, to joy, to possibility. You know, the experience we have, sometimes we're having a hellish experience. Something's going on that just is so consuming to us. Did you realize, or have you recognized, that what's really going on is a thought process? That the event that has caused us a disturbance is magnified or amplified because we're thinking about it in a really negative way. We're thinking about it in a way that suggests that whatever has happened is really bad, and then we focus on it and we allow it to build, and our anxiety builds, and maybe our blood pressure goes up, and nothing good comes from that. Nothing good. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were sharing that, 1,000 people could love what they do, but if one person criticizes it, the focus is on the one. And I want you to think about that for a minute. What is the percentage that one has compared to 999? There should be no contest, but there's something in us, in the way we've been raised or trained, that we come to expect that that one person somehow knows a secret the rest don't, and that they're actually right. And I'm here to tell you they're wrong. They're telling you what they know from their perception of reality. They're sharing with you their thoughts, their feelings. It is not the truth. So it's important that we come to understand that this is the reality, that the ideas that we have about our life and our journey, the things that excite and delight us, the stuff that is so important to our well being, all of it comes from our own internal creative beingness. There's something inside of us that is so powerful and positive. There's something inside of us that really is brilliant and exquisite. And if we could just let go of the opinions of others, we might find the inner strength, that inner power, that force that all of us has, that would allow us to move forward in a way that is truly positive and productive. And we can do that. That's something that we have full power over. So, I just want to say that, as we're moving along, there's stuff we can do and stuff that we can't, right? It's like the serenity prayer, where we acknowledge what we have power over, what we don't, and then we know that we have the wisdom to make the right choices. And that's really what we are doing as we're living authentically, day by day, just finding our voice. And I think one of the things that happens when we do find our voice and we do live in that place that's really positive, we begin to experience a fuller sense of ourselves, and we start to see the ways in which we impact the world around us and actually make it a little bit better because of our willingness to be authentic and to show up. And one of the things that, is good to remember is that really the only limitation in our lives comes from our own thinking, right? If I think that I'm not enough, I get to be right. If I think I'm broken and flawed, I get to be right. If I think the world is against me, I get to be right. If I think whatever I'm thinking about, that becomes my reality. The spiritual laws are so exact. And the law of attraction is that I will draw into my life exactly who I am or what I believe myself to be. And so the messaging I got when I was younger might have convinced me that somehow I'm not enough. And that truly is a bit of a lie. Uh, I was reading some stuff about Bill Murray the other day, and really got some very cool things from him. And one was, he said, "I live a little bit on the seat of my pants. I try to be alert and available. I try to be available for life to happen to me. We're in this life, and if we're not available, the sort of ordinary time goes past and we didn't live it. But if we're available, life gets huge. Then we're really living." And I love that, because being available means being present with what is and with who we are, and being in that place of strength and possibility. It allows us to actually create a life that is remarkable. And when we're living in the present now moment, there is great hope for what can happen. When we're focused on the past, when we're projecting into the future, we're powerless. But Now is the point of power. This is the place where we want to live. Another thing he said is the last time doesn't exist. It's only this time. And everything is going to be different this time. There's only now. What I love about that, the last time doesn't exist. How many times have we gone, well, the last time I tried this, the last time I did that, the last time I, right? We do this fairly often. So that's one of the things we want to interrupt is that idea of the last time. We want to be able to live in the present now moment, knowing that that is really our point of power. A friend of mine, my associate minister, actually has a watch that she wears that her uh, her grandson made for her, and it's so great because every now and again somebody will ask her for the time, and she'll show them the watch, and they don't always take it with joy. So I took my husband's old watch and I created one just like it, and what it says is now. Of course, I can't wear this watch because it's too big for me, but someone will. I thought, what a great reminder, every time you turn your hand to look at your watch, it goes now. And when Emmy showed that to me the first time, I thought, oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. What a beautiful reminder to be present, to step into your power, to allow yourself to really connect with life and to shine in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you were back there or projecting forward. Like being in the moment is so powerful. And it allows us to truly connect with one another. A gentleman by the name of Eric McLean talked about authenticity and said, authenticity is critical to create real connections. And that makes perfect sense because the truth is that if I'm connecting with someone, number one, I have to be present. And if there's anything about my character that I'm masking or hiding, which often we do, then there can't be a real meeting of heart to heart. There can't be a true connection because we're not showing up in the manner or the way that we really could. So we want to find a way to see ourselves in a new light. Louise Hay was a great advocate for really loving yourself. And she would give everyone an exercise. Look in a mirror and tell yourself, I love you. I really love you. That comment, when you look in the mirror and tell yourself that, looking deep in your own eyes, there's a feeling that is really, really powerful. Challenge, of course, is doing it for the first time. I have some clients who cannot do it. They cannot look at themselves and say that. And that's what creates hell. I don't think of heaven and hell as places that we go to when we die or vacation destination points. I think of it as states of consciousness. In the moment that I'm struggling with who I am and where I am and what's going on, I'm living in hell. When I'm feeling jubilant and excited and delighted and all that, then I'm living in heaven, right? It's a here and now reality that happens based on my perception of the given moment. When we live authentically, we are powerful. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing we need to resist. There's no lie that we're telling to ourselves or others. There's a truthfulness about our experience that's so powerful. One of the things that I've noticed over the last little while is I have some friends of my daughter and some friends of my own who are transgender. And what's fascinating is that as they have stepped into their real identity, there's a shift that is so powerful, and it's so exciting to see. And it's interesting because when this has occurred, the fascinating thing to me was as soon as they told me, or as soon as I saw them in their real light, it was like, of course, now I get it. Now I see you. And really, what we want to do is see one another, who we are authentically. And that's what the Joy Show is all about. The people I interview them because their lives are interesting. And I want to share their stories about how they've created the lives that they have. And my own story is an interesting one as well, moving through major traumas of a wide variety into a place of really feeling triumphant in my life. I have created a life that makes me happy today. I do work that I love with people that I love. I'm married to a man that I love. I love my children and my grandchildren and my great grandson. There's a real joy in the things that I do and a great sense of peacefulness around that. And so I'm able to live, and I'm getting better at this, living from my own expectations rather than the expectations of others. So that's a piece that I'm still working on. And I think many of us do. People share their opinions, their thoughts, and we take it to heart. And sometimes it works really well for us. And sometimes it is an interrupt to the dreams that we actually have. Roy T. Bennett said, "Don't let the expectations and opinions of other people affect your decisions. It's your life, not theirs." But the truth is, we kind of get people's opinions all the time, don't we? People will tell us, "Oh, why'd you wear that?" Or "Why did you do this with your hair?" Or "Really? You got a tattoo? What were you thinking?" Like there's all sorts of things. You're doing what career? "Oh, you can't start that job. Oh, that would never work. Maybe you should try this." One of the things that came up in the meeting yesterday with the school is there's some of my daughter's friends who are looking at career choices because they're in grade 11 or 12, and they're looking at career choices getting out, and they're looking at it from how much money I can make. Not from what I like, not from what I love, not what I hope to do for my whole life, but what will bring me the greatest income. That feels to me like a real disconnect. That if I am working just to receive wealth, then I have missed out on a very important reality within our universe, that I am part of an infinite, powerful, creative universe that says yes to my greatest dreams, my greatest vision, or my greatest limitation, because it doesn't judge. So if I feel that I can't do what I love because I'll never make a living at it, well, I get to be right. I will do something that maybe I don't like, and I'll do it for however long. A friend of mine has got a great story, and I interviewed her on the show before, and she's going to be on the Spirit Cafe show, I think next week. What's fascinating about her story is at 50, she gave up caregiving because she reached absolute exhaustion. And while she was recovering, which took about a year, one day at near the end of that, she's sitting on her deck out back of her home and looking out over the trees and everything, and a thought popped into her head, "I wonder if I could draw that." And immediately she became an artist, and I have a number of her pieces in my home. But here's the fascinating thing. We've all heard the phrase starving artist. I don't think anybody ever told her that, because she's been selling her work almost since the day she started. And now her commissions and stuff are going for a much more significant price than they were in the beginning. And what's fascinating is that it just happened quite organically. When we let go of the struggle in our own mind, when we surrender into an idea of ourself that excites and delights us, when we allow ourselves to really celebrate the gifts and talents that we possess, what happens is it frees us. It frees us to be more, to do more. And there's great excitement in that. Truth is, we were born to stand out. So we should stop trying to fit in, right? That's an interesting one, because more often than not, we're really trying to get people to like us, and so we will do things or say things or dress in a certain way or act in a certain way to gain favor with others. And I don't think it works. I don't think it works. I think it's very temporary. And when people see the authentic self, the true authentic self, and they love that, I think we then have a connection forever. But if we've been wearing a mask, presenting a fable to the people in front of us, at some point in time, we will lose sight of what that is and the mask will drop. Will that person still like what they see? Because they might have fallen in love with us for one reason and they might fall out for another. Brene Brown wrote, authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, and the choice to let our true selves be seen. I think that's where the difficulty comes in, is being vulnerable. That idea that somehow being vulnerable is bad. I've watched, when I've done workshops with a group of people and maybe somebody starts to cry and immediately somebody wants to go over and hug them and stop them from crying. It's like we've gotten a message that somehow our emotions should be contained, that things like tears or anger or frustration, annoyance, disappointment, any of these emotions that we would call negative, they should somehow be contained. We should not have them, or we should hide them, definitely suppress them. And I'm here to tell you, don't do any of that. Don't do any of that. If you feel sad, if you're grieving, cry. If you're angry, feel that anger. Notice what's going on for yourself. Don't project it onto somebody else, but take hold of it and go, whoa, when have I felt this way before? And what do I really need? Because our emotions are telling us something about our current experience. And I personally think that we come into this life to experience living. We don't come in here to lay on a bed of, rose petals and eat bonbons and, just have joy every minute. I mean, it kind of sounds nice for a while, but do I want it 24/7? That might become very boring. If I'm an infinite spirit that comes from the divine, then I might as well just stay in the light that I always was. Why bother to take the human form and come into a place that produces the opportunity to experience? I think we're here to experience life, not for it to look a certain way or act a certain way, but to experience life, the ups and the downs of it. There's going to be bumps in the road, and it's okay. I sometimes um, I sometimes get a little concerned about how we judge one another. Well, I often get concerned about how we judge one another. There is so many there's so many times when we look at another person's experience and we decide that, oh, well, check them out. And there's a real stigma around certain things. There's stigma around poverty. There is stigma around certain illnesses. There's stigma around our sexuality. There's stigma around the religion that we practice or the color of our skin. There's all of these ways. There's stigma against people who would wear a hijab. Like there's all of this ways that we decide that somebody is less than us. And so I'm here to say that that is all BS. There is no way that you can, in fact, determine the character of another individual by looking at their financial status or the clothing that they wear or the style of their hair. All of this stuff is made up, and it's made up to keep us separate from one another. But true healing, true power, true possibility comes from connection. And that's when it's a win-win. When we see another person and we're willing to meet them heart to heart, we're willing to have a conversation, to discover something about them, it's amazing the stories that we hear. I remember walking down one of the main avenues here in Toronto, and there was a man outside asking for change. And so I sat down beside him and we started to chat. And we had this very interesting conversation. I didn't have any cash on me, so I couldn't give him that, but I had time. So I just asked about his life and his history and, what he was up to these days and what he hoped for. It was a beautiful conversation. It was a lovely connection. And I think sometimes we miss out on that because we go, oh, I don't want to talk to that person, right? We've made a judgment. There's a phrase in the Bible, which I don't use the Bible much, but in there it says, judge not lest ye be judged. I think all judgment is self-judgment, self-loathing. That when I judge somebody else, it's because maybe I'm feeling inferior in some other aspect, and so this raises me up. Um, we're all unique and special. We're all powerful, creative, and imaginative. We're all divinely blessed, and if we can learn to love ourselves enough, there will not be a need for us to put somebody else down or shun someone because of their HIV status or their sexuality or the fact that they are transgender or whatever the thing we use to separate. I think we come to understand that really each and every one of us is truly divine. And the most beautiful thing we can do is connect heart to heart. And that happens when we let the fear go, because we tend to live in a lot of fear. But we let that go and we trust that the life that we're living is honoring our own unique path. And on that path, we will draw to us remarkable people to share the journey. And everyone that comes into our life and crosses our path is essential because everyone is helping us to get to our biggest vision, our greatest dream, our greatest possibility. Something to think about. Another Bill Murray quote, the secret is to have a sense of yourself, your real self, your unique self. And I thought, yeah, that's great. Like once we come to kind of get who I am, then I have a receptivity to know who you are. I want to know who you are as well. I want to come to understand something about you that maybe I didn't know before. So much we can learn from one another. And I think when we push people away or we ignore people or we just decide that somebody isn't good enough for our time, I think we really close ourselves down to the potential that lies within us. Our greatness gets blocked and stopped in the moment that we move into that type of judgment. And sometimes people say and do things that is hurtful to us or that annoys us or causes us great anger or frustration. What we need to remember about that is our reaction to them is providing us with a lot of information. You know, if somebody gives you a gift, they hand you this beautiful gift, and you say, no, thank you, then who does the gift belong to? The person who offered it. People will share with you all kinds of ideas and thoughts and attitudes, and some of it might be positive and some of it might be negative, but all of it has the ability to cause you to react. And if you do, then there's something in you that's ready for healing. And so when we take the time to go within and to go, what is this? What do I need? We can begin to shift that, take back our power, and begin to live a life that is far more exciting and joyful. You're watching The Joy Show. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell, and we're going to take a quick little commercial break, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience? Or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
Well, we're back and we're talking about living authentically, that somehow there's something about honoring that internal, I don't know, individual, unique self that we have that creates something wonderful. Hi, Wayne. Good to see you, my friend. The journey that we're on, see, each one of us is created unique. And what's interesting, I really believe that it is absolutely necessary that we find our real voice, that we find our real passion and purpose, and that we live it because the world needs it right now. In order for us to create a world that works for the highest and best good of all of humanity, it requires that each one of us be that. You know, Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. You want peace, then be that. Not when everything's going great, but when somebody is in your face calling you out to take a breath and to just be in that moment where you're hearing what they're saying, but you're not taking it on because, frankly, it's got nothing to do with you. And even if you've done something that's upset someone else, listening to them, letting them talk out what's going on, inviting them, to tell you more. It's one of my favorite sayings when somebody's really angry with me is tell me more about that. Tell me more. And the thing is that as we live from this authentic place, we become very powerful. I mean, we've always been powerful, there's no question, but it becomes really obvious in everything in our life and in our world because we're standing up, we're standing out, we're being what we were created to be. And in that, there becomes a great sense of satisfaction and comfort in our life experience. It's really important. And another Bill Murray quote, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is your life. I love that. Sometimes we're putting in time, trying to fit in, trying to find our way, and not really celebrating who we are. And in doing that, it's like we're rehearsing for something, we're getting ready for something. But this is your life. And this life has meaning and value. It's important and essential. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're living our highest potential moment by moment. And sometimes that's harder to do than others. My life journey has been, filled with strife. I'm really glad I'm on the other side of it now. But the reality is that, raised in a family where my parents divorced when I was 11, which I felt so humiliated by that. This is back in the day when very few people seemed to get divorced and when nobody in our community had. And I felt really like I had a big sign across my forehead that my parents didn't make it. And I took it personally, like somehow it was a personal affront to me. And it made me so angry. And oh my gosh, the next probably 15, 16 years, I lived in that anger. I lived in that feeling of not being enough. I lived in that idea that I came from a broken home and that made me broken. And I was angry. I was ashamed of it. And that carried forward until a time when I had this spiritual awakening, this spiritual epiphany. And it was a moment of pure clarity where I experienced my oneness with God. And it wasn't an some guy up there passing, a little blessing my way. It was a feeling, an immense experience of love, something I've never felt before. And I don't think I've felt it to the same degree ever since. But in that moment, it was like sitting in a dark room and somebody flipping a switch and turning the lights on, and all of a sudden you can see. And that's what the experience was like. And I was in a traditional Christian church, and I was just so overwhelmed by what occurred that I started attending everything that they did. I would go to morning prayers on Sunday. I would go to the morning service on Sunday. I'd go to the evening service on Sunday. I'd go to the prayer meeting on Wednesday. I'd go to games night on Friday and any other event they had in between. It's like there was a part of me that was yearning and seeking to discover this deep spiritual connection that I'd felt. And the feeling that I had lasted about a week. It was really, really powerful. But as it diminished, I wanted more. And I wasn't raised with religion, so I didn't know a whole lot about it. And so I was trying to find out, and I was trying to find out from the people around me. But the stuff they were telling me was creating a disconnect because my experience of God was this oneness, this love, this beauty, this goodness. It was powerful. And it wasn't separate from me. It was me. It was being me. It was like the essence of me. And it was that experience that I was trying to uh, create a framework for. And I thought, well, if I could understand the Bible, or if the pastor would tell me something, then I could get it. And I stayed in that church for about a year and a half. And I finally had to leave because the messages I was getting were that we were the only ones who could go to heaven. We were the only ones that would get there because everybody else is going to go to hell. And I kept questioning Pastor about that because it didn't make sense to me. That was not the epiphany experience I'd had. So I moved on, and that's when I found the Centers for Spiritual Living. At the time, it was in Calgary, and it was called the Center for Positive Living. And when I went there, the first time I walked into that theater on a Sunday morning, it was just like being bathed in love. And I knew I'd found my place, my home, the place that fueled and filled me. Now, it did take me some time before I actually did all my studies and became a minister, but the journey was so powerful. The opportunities presented so full of life and excitement. The answers to questions were so clear and so reasonable. There was no superstition. It was all clear. It was like bringing together religion and science so that you could have an understanding of God as the energy, the infinite possibility, the only thing that exists, and that all of us are some part of it. We live, move, and have our being in this quantum soup. And each one of us is connected because we're in the same thing. It's like the wave on the ocean. We know the wave is ocean water. Why is it we can't understand that we are the expression of God? That within us are all of the attributes, right? That wave on the ocean has all the same salt and whatever in it that the ocean has, right? It's made up of all the same stuff. We are made up of God's stuff, spirit stuff. We are that. And wow, what an exciting thing to know. Because if this divine universe is all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere present, well, then it's right here. That means I'm powerful and I have the ability to know, to discover, to awaken. I have that ability, and whew, that's exciting. But it requires that I live from the inside out rather than the other way around. And unfortunately, most of us, myself included, have lived from out here first. We're out here, we're living from the expectations of others, we're listening to the media, we're allowing this life journey to be designated according to the media fears that are being perpetuated at the moment, rather than going within ourselves and finding our own sense of truth and possibility. There was a great quote, and I don't know if I could find it easily, but it was from Emerson, and it was about the idea that imitation is suicide, that living from the expectations of others really is a disabling thing to do, but that when we find our own authentic self, when we live from our own sense of power and purpose, what happens is we create beauty and love and grace and goodness in the world around us. And the other thing that's always interested me is that when I look at people who are really angry or people who bully others or hurt others, what happens always is when you look back, you realize that person is hurt. They're hurting. They don't love themselves, don't believe in themselves. They don't have a sense of, I am a marvelous, creative, beautiful, unique, special being. So when we find our real voice, when we find our real energy, when we find our real passion and purpose, we begin to live in a whole new way. And we know that everybody else has the same thing, that all of us come from the one source. And it can allow us to then surrender a little bit and give up our fears to become more relaxed, to feel a deeper sense of connection with others, and to open our minds and hearts so that we can really live in a productive and positive, powerful way, the way that we were intended to live. Maybe we'll even find our real passion and live our greatest dream. It can happen, but it only happens if I believe it can, right? It has to come from that place of belief. And at the Centers for Spiritual Living or Unity, what we teach is that we're all one, we're all connected, and that we're all part of this one source. And it's all good. It's all good. Yes, harm no one. Way to go, Wayne. It's true. Because if I do harm to someone else, I've actually done it to myself. Remembering that is really crucial. Another Bill Murray quote, the more relaxed you are, the better you are at everything. The better you are with your loved ones, the better you are with enemies, the better you are at your job, the better you are with yourself. I mean, think about it. When you're all tense and anxious, productivity really diminishes. But when you're relaxed and peaceful, it's like things just flow and there's a comfort to life. So, this idea of living from that authentic self is just really a good idea. When we think about the fact that you are created in a really special way. And in fact, you're unrepeatable. There's no other person on the planet created with the same passion, the same purpose, the same uh, ideas of life and living that you are, that one unique person that can do that one thing in the way that you do it. There's a little something, something that each one of us has within us that no one else can do in the way that we do it. And it's up to us to do it. It's up to us to give our gift into the world. Now, not everybody's going to like it. Not everybody's going to want a piece of it. Not everybody's going to want to be your best friend. And it's okay. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I don't have room for that in my life. I don't know about you. But we connect with like-minded people. We connect with people who harmonize with our essence, our soul. And when we come to really know that we're enough, that we're powerful, positive, beautiful, remarkable, when we come to understand ourselves in a new way, what happens is we begin to attract to us a lot of other people who feel the same way about themselves. And together we create something really magical and beautiful. It's like my producer of this show. It was a great moment in my life when this beautiful woman found her way from Mexico to Canada and entered my spiritual center. One of the best days ever. And we've been working together ever since, which is so wonderful. I'm just so grateful to her for all she does. We meet people every now and again that touch our heart and soul, that bring with them some very special talent or gift or ability, and there's a connection made that who knows why it's made? Who knows why we connect with one person different than another? But I think it's about the value of our thought or the comfort that we have in our own skin, that there's an energetic match that happens that brings us together. And it's a really remarkable thing when it happens. And when it happens in a marriage, wow, that is like next level. I think about my husband, who I've been with now coming up 21 years, and it's really remarkable to me that just the way we get along. And yeah, we get, ticked at each other occasionally, but that doesn't last and it doesn't have any real power of its own. It's just a moment of, "Ugh, why'd you do that? Now I'm ticked." And I get to have that feeling of upset or annoyance or disappointment. And then I go, but that's mine. Nothing to do with him. That's mine. I have decided, I've chosen, I've created a series of thoughts around something that I've decided is really important. And so then I have my experience. But that experience is just honoring a moment. And that moment is going to pass quickly. And then a new one comes. And as we're building relationships, friendships, love relationships, even work relationships or partnerships, it's so important that we put our best foot forward in a way that is honest and authentic. Living authentically is way easier than wearing these masks that we have to change depending on the circumstance. It's like, who am I today? I think we get confused about who we really are simply because of the masks that we wear to get through our day. One for the boss, and another one for our lover, and another one for our neighbor, and another one for our children, and another one. Why can't we just be real with everybody? I've worked with my children. I have 4 children, and most of them are full adults. The littlest one, not so little, but she'll be an adult next month. So it's like I look at my kids and I go, like, these are individuals who have lives, who are powerful and productive and unique and special. And it's important for me to be honest with them always. So when they ask me about things that happened in my childhood or things that happened in my life, or, did you drink when you were a teenager? Or did you tell lies? Did you run away from home? Questions I always answer honestly. I figured that honesty is by far the best thing. For me to pretend that somehow I'm some ascended master sitting on my throne, I've never made a mistake, that is flat out BS. I've tripped and fallen and tripped and fallen and tripped and fallen and somehow managed to keep getting up. I think there was something in me that was pushing me to continue. But the reality is that those slips did not diminish who I am. They added to who I am by allowing me to see, to understand, to comprehend a different reality. And so it's a beautiful thing when that occurs. It's really exciting when something new happens that allows us to view life and the world in a new way. When we can view ourselves in a new way. And if we can be honest with our children, imagine what that gives them as they're growing up, where they can see the value of honesty, where they can experience what it's like to know things about your parents that even your best friends don't know about their parents, right? The days of pretending that our parents were gods and never ever made a mistake or had a bad day, well, we know we know that's not true. So where do we go with all of this? We've got these ideas of living authentically and accepting our power and potential. I think for me, it's really about exploring within yourself, what is it that really makes you tick? What is it that excites and delights you? And then following that path as it moves you forward. And there's some spiritual tools you can use that are very, very helpful. One is meditation, taking 20 minutes in silence each day, It's amazing the inspiration that can come from that. A little spark, a little glimmer of something that never had entered your mind before, and boom, there it is. And it's the perfect thing for that moment. The idea of doing spiritual mind treatment, we teach that it is a type of affirmative prayer. Pardon me, and it's done in 5 steps. We recognize that there's one power in the universe. We unify with that power. So if there's one thing going on, I must be some part of it. And then there's a realization step where we state in an affirmation, a positive, present, powerful statement that I am. I am love, I am peace, I am living a life of freedom, joy, and celebration, whatever it is that we're praying about. And we do it in the positive, in the present tense. And then gratitude. I'm so grateful, so thankful for this day and this moment. I'm so thankful for this beautiful experience I'm now having. I'm so grateful and thankful for the life that I'm living. And the last step is release. And I know that it's done, and so I let it go. And so it is. Like it's that willingness to go, here's my idea, here's my vision, here's my purpose. And I just know that to be the truth. And so I can release these ideas. And by doing meditation and treatment, we begin to create a really powerful foundation, a rock solid foundation that allows us to stand on it with a real sense of who we are and what potential there is for us. Because there is no limit or bound other than the one that we put on it ourselves. We limit ourselves. We play small. There seems to be some idea that that's safe. I don't think it is. I think it's disabling. It creates mediocrity, limitation, lack. But when we really get, I am one with this infinite source and power. I am powerful, creative, intelligent. When we live from that experience, I think then we stand up and we stand out. We are all of a sudden seen on the bigger stage. People see us and hear us and take note. And the exciting thing about that is we can make changes in the world. There's things that we can do, ways that we can serve, stuff that we can stand up for that really matters for us. We can take time to acknowledge this network, for example, the New Thought Media Network, a powerful, positive, productive place for great conversations and prayers and opportunities to discover tools and beautiful services and things that allow us to live a really powerful and productive life. There's many teachings and stuff on here that allows us to understand things in a new way and presented by many different hosts. And every host has a different turn of phrase that might land for us in a little bit different way. It's very exciting, very exciting. So day by day, moment by moment, we choose. The other thing that we can do, and I think this is pretty important, when we come to understand that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, it's really important that we have the human experience, that we don't try to slough it off as unimportant, but rather we integrate it with the essence of us, the spiritual self. And we do that by honoring this body. So we honor it by feeding it good food, resting sufficiently, taking the time to be creative, taking time for play. I think play is super important. We take time to play, we take time to love, we take time to work, to do some endeavor that allows us to be in service to humanity, something that will make a difference in our world. As we begin to honor this body, it is our vehicle of expression in this life experience. And the best thing we can do is absolutely be fully present with it and to be in the world in a way that allows us to really stand out and to be the remarkable self that we were created to be. Many people are telling us this. Many people are telling us this. We're getting this message from all over that you're created perfect, whole, and complete. No need to doubt it, fear it, worry about it. Just have to let go of the mixed messages we might have received through childhood and adulthood and everything in between. The truth is that we are powerful, and it is our thinking that creates our life, our world, our experience. What I think about, I bring about. Where I focus my attention, that's what expands and grows in my life. So, moving forward, what do? We take time to care for the physical body. We take time to care for the emotional body. All emotions come from me. All your emotions come from you. We take time to really honor our mental capacity. And we absolutely celebrate our gifts and talents. We don't hide them. We don't pretend. We don't play small. We stand up and go, this is my gift. This is what I love. This is what brings me joy. This is what fuels me and fills me and expands me. And this is what excites and delights me. Whatever that is for you. To stand in that. To live in this place of wholeness. To live in this place of laughter and beauty and fun and busyness and delight and rest and all of it. All of it. Everything that has ever happened in your life has brought you to today. Everything that's ever happened in my life brought me to now. So I can't hate it. I choose to love it. And some of it was hard. But wow, did I learn a lot. Anyway, there is just one you. You are unrepeatable. You are unique and special. And you are essential to the unfolding of the universe at this time. You're the one who makes the difference in our world moving forward. You are the gift. I invite you to just give yourself into life, to fall in love with you, and then to share that love with the world. That's how we make a world that works for the highest and best good of all. I'm Barbara Schreiner-Trudell. This is The Joy Show, and I'm so grateful that you took time to listen and to watch. And hey, subscribe, share, like, comment, and I'll see you again next week. And I have a special guest. Don't miss it. Happy weekend. I love you.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.